Hello, thank you for your interest in this research, which is titled The Transitioning into New Mobility, a Future Curb Space Design. I'm Yuval Fogelson. I'm an urban designer, and I'm representing the work done at TIPSLAB at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada. I wanted to thank our wonderful undergraduate research assistants, Curdy Guo, Lucas Ewing, Zhenyi Zhou, and Yiguan Liu. And acknowledge Annalisa Mayboom, the head of the lab, which is supervising this research. So at the heart of this research is the speculative design proposal. It looks at the future vision at a macro scale of a citywide mobility hub network. And it then uses an incremental approach to phasing, which is further broken down into the mobility hub components. These components are broken further into two groups, the yellow groups, which include the transit, active mobility, activation of space, and micromobility, and the blue group, which is the vehicular new mobility group, including the pickup drop-off, which is ride-hail, e-commerce, and e-fleet, which would be car share. Here are the four stages, four incremental stages, which will be phase 0 is current, phase 1 is in the 1 to 2 year time frame, phase 2, 5 to 10 year time frame, and phase 3 is more visionary, futuristic, 25 to 35 years around that. In phase 0, we can see the different interventions that were done in the COVID-19 pandemic, space for people to gather, space for people to move, experimentation, also experimentation with bus bulbs and other infrastructure. Phase 1, here we already see a tactical urbanism approach. We're using materials such as paint, planter boxes, kind of parklets, bollards, and these type of activities where we're creating bike streets. And it's important that in this phase, we're trying to unite the idea of the bike streets and the plaza and to anchor it around transit. In this way, the idea is to take the idea of the mobility as a service, which looks at seamless integration between the different transportation modes, but not only in the app, but also in the physical urban design of the space. We can also imagine, for example, a parklet for the pickup and drop-off area. And so phase 2, we see the concretization of all the things that we tested in phase 1. And now it's a more permanent material, such as this example. And again, all the different mobility hub components are all centralized in this idea of this around the plaza. The really important aspect of phase 2 is the virtual realm. Here we can use geofencing for every individual curb space, and we will need to code it with the regulations, and really we'll have to really design this virtual space, and this is really at the heart of this research. Just like in the physical world, wayfinding is critical. In the virtual, the user interface is very important. And here, again, this is broken down into the same components that were shown before. Finally, phase 3 is the visionary phase, where there is a much greater emphasis on micromobility. And again, we see here the plaza. And this is anchored around, again, the idea of the transit, only that this time we've been integrating the transit terminal with the pickup drop-off terminal, already anticipating autonomous shuttles and autonomous vehicles, but it doesn't necessarily have to only be for autonomous. We could also imagine, for example, e-commerce, where these delivery bots can directly go into the micromobility infrastructure. And this then connects further to the ecosystem of the whole citywide network of the mobility hub network. So the mobility hub network is really built out of these individual but connected mobility hubs, and they're further broken down into different urban typologies. such as the city center zone, the linear urban corridor or urban center, or airports or shopping centers, or even a pop-up event mobility hub, and so on. And this is then reflected onto the physical realm, which is then requires a design. So as a proof of concept, in this research, we've looked at Metro Vancouver case studies and 7 different locations, and also dividing them into urban corridors, the urban centers, and campus mobility hub in the suburban typology. Here's an example of case 1, which is the Vancouver and West Forest corridor, where we just went through exactly these phases, looking at really locating all these different uses of new mobility and looking at the virtual as well as the physical in parallel. The research also looked at some theory on the digital transformation of public space, and also looked at some theory on transitioning strategy. Thank you. I hope this was meaningful. Thank you very much.